always waiting. It's live. It's live.
I like the laughing that we did on the trivia. Just go live laughing. Hey out there. Welcome back to episode number 2 of Dig a Little Deeper.
2
on Laughing Place, where we go not this level on a Disney attraction, but maybe a little bit lower on a Disney attraction, maybe a little bit deeper.
No, it just seems strange. We're like the path under the railroad. I don't know.
That applies to this ride too.
I don't know. It sounds appealing.
That leads into a whole other attraction that was never built about Indiana Jones, so we won't get into that yet.
Got concept art for that. So last week we did Casey Jr. Circus Train, and we knew that it would be tough to top that in week 2.
In Search of the Bull People.
One of the iconic attractions at Disneyland. But we've done it, I think. I think we have. We've got Indiana Jones Adventure, or is it Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye? Maybe we'll solve that one mystery today, if nothing else. So with me on this journey, well, first of all, my name is Doobie. With me is my wife, Rebekah.
Hi, everybody.
Together, we founded Laughing Place.
Yes, we did.
In your upper right is Shelly.
Hey, everybody.
And down below us is Indiana Jeremiah himself.
Hi, guys.
Wow, he found himself. What an explorer he is. If you haven't already, please take a moment.
He's always been there. They were digging. And there he was.
Like this video. Like this video, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Hopefully you enjoy this show. If you have any questions, any comments, by the way, please put them in the comments. We will see them. We will show them on screen. We will discuss them. That's why we do this live, so we can make it a little bit interactive. Otherwise, we might as well record it and get rid of the dumb parts. But no, we're leaving the dumb parts in.
I'm leaving.
We are leaving the dumb parts in. So please interact with us in the comments. Indiana Jones Adventure opened March 4th, 1995. It is considered by many to be the single greatest theme park attraction ever created. Before we get into just a quick plot summary and then we start to dig down, let's just go around the room real quick. Just give me on a scale of 1 to 10. How good is Indiana Jones Adventure? Shelly.
9.5.
Jeremiah.
10.
Rebekah.
10.
7.
7.2. No, just kidding. It is probably a 10. A little bit less than a 10, but not much. Just like you can't even see it. So Disneyland is all about story. And if there's one attraction, thank you, Amy. I did it myself. If there's one attraction, sorry, I said we put the comments up and then I've been on it. Love your new haircut.
Thank you.
If there's one attraction that embodies Disney's dedication to story, it is the Indiana Jones Adventure. So, Rebekah, would you mind giving us a plot summary for the Indiana Jones Adventure? Yes, it is.
And you're going to have pictures while I do this?
I am.
Okay. Deep in the far corner of Adventureland, we find ourselves in 1935 at the Lost River Delta in India, where archaeologists have recently unearthed the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. Once entering the temple, we step through a labyrinth of mysterious rooms with only the flickering light from generator-powered lanterns to guide us. Along the way, we pass alarming statues and booby traps, including a deadly spiked room chamber just loud enough to mask the sounds of a train that could be passing overhead.
Is that why they put that there?
Several statues and paintings of a mystical god Mara decorate the temple, but the god is conspicuously always depicted with eyes closed. The path winds its way into a screening room where newsreel clips show celebrities and tourists taking trips deep within the temple and emerging with wealth, youth, or future knowledge. Indiana Jones himself ventured into the temple, but disappeared shortly after. On this makeshift slideshow, Sala warns the next set of tourists to avoid gazing into the eyes of Mara, keep it closed, or meet your doom. Apparently, filled with greed, we opt to board a troop transport style Jeep inside this temple. Once through the Chamber of Destiny, our Jeep travels straight toward the idol statue. With a thunderous shout, Mara announces someone, probably Doobie, has looked into the eyes, and that our journey now lies beyond the gates of doom. The statue disintegrates in front of our eyes as the god laughs. With a flash of lightning, our Jeep floats towards the gates, but thankfully, Indiana Jones is there and slams the gates closed, causing the Jeep to break from its trance and crash onto the ground. After chastising us for looking into the eyes, he sends us off to the left passage, our only way out. The Jeep turns and stumbles down a flight of stairs into the cavern of bubbling death, where a crumbled statue of Mara shoots bright lasers and fire blasts into the chamber. The vehicle winds and twists past skeletons, through a chamber filled with bugs and scorpions, across a rickety bridge, past a giant serpent, and through catacombs of skulls. The Jeep then turns into a dark tunnel filled with rats and a narrow hallway where poisoned darts shoot from the walls and over our head. But finally, the Jeep emerges from this darkness to reveal Indiana Jones, hanging from a rope and grateful to see us alive. But our reunion is short-lived when a giant boulder tumbles towards the vehicle, threatening to flatten us into a pancake. With some quick driving, the troop transport plummets under the boulder just in time, and the vehicle swerves to reveal Indiana Jones standing in front of the now crushed boulder. Indiana Jones beckons us farewell, no longer angry, but addressing us as fellow adventuring companions.
The end.
I've been on this ride dozens of times. I don't remember any of this stuff. I'm just like, wee, and that's pretty much it.
I think that's one of for me, one of the things that makes this attraction so great is that you start off small, right? You see this temple in front of you, and it's not like Cinderella Castle looming high, right? It's a rather unimpressive in some ways structure. It's simple, and you enter, and then you go through these catacombs. So in some ways, you kind of get closer and smaller. Your experience is getting smaller and smaller. The walls are kind of closing in, and then you get on this vehicle, and you enter the temple. And then after your confrontation, as it were, with Mara, and you make that turn, suddenly you're in this enormous, multi-layered, enormous room, and it's just the story. It's like this amazing explosion in front of you, and there you are, all through that, and it just has this nice kind of ebb and flow of size and scale.
And I mean, it can be hard to notice everything when you're writing it, but it's hard to believe that when you're in the room, that all of this is going on.
Nope.
You've got a Jungle Cruise boat in there. You've got Minecraft.
You go upside down.
You've got the train going on. Yeah.
Yep. You go upside down.
It's cool. I mean, it just... So, Jeremiah, what are we looking at here to go even back before the ride opened in 1995?
You're looking at concept art that never made it.
Oh.
So, Doobie and Rebekah, when did you guys first learn about Indiana Jones? The attraction, not the movies.
For me, it would have been when I went to Disneyland on Memorial Day 1995. So after it opened.
And I was living in outside of Dallas, Texas, when Indiana Jones was under development. So for me, it was whenever they were sharing information on like Disney Channel or Disney Magazine. So it was that kind of, I wasn't in the Southern California area at the time.
So I am just the uber nerd in this situation.
I think that goes without saying.
Yeah.
Thank you. I knew as soon as I said that. So as the kid of Southern California, 1994, 95 was really the first time I became a true Disneyland nerd. I started going there. I lived in Southern California, but north of Anaheim. So it was still an hour and a half, 2 hour drive, but I would do it quite often. The Disney magazine, which as an annual pass holder was kind of like the annual pass holder newsletter back then, was really the first time I remember anything talked about the Indiana Jones adventure, Temple of the Forbidden Eye. It's all one title. Don't ask.
We all just call it Indy. Come on.
Yeah.
You ride Indy.
I still try to call it Temple of the Forbidden Eye, especially because it's, nomenclature. That's the key.
Is it Toy Story Mania or Toy Story Midway Mania?
Yes.
Well, that's not even.
Depends on which coast you're on.
Okay, go on.
The Disney magazine, which I looked for today, and I don't have that issue here with me, was the first one. And on the cover, it showed the Indy hanging from the rope and the boulder. What you showed was one of the mini concept arts that hearing from Tony Baxter, the person who essentially came up with the concept of the Indiana Jones adventure, that was the concept art that helped sell it. He wanted Jungle Cruise and the Disneyland Railroad to interact with it, but you'll also notice that there's two different Indy attractions. There's the mine car in the center going through the loop, and then down there's the troop transport. The original concept, I'm taking off my Indy hat. My head gets warm. The original concept that I remember way back in probably 94, 93, 94, because the construction took forever, was you would board the runaway mine car, and then somehow it would lock into the troop transport, and then you would go off on the adventure. Kind of like Rise of the Resistance has the transport that locks into the escape pod, but it would be a longer attraction. Needless to say, in 1993, we didn't even have internet, and they couldn't do all of that. So we fast forward. Go ahead.
Oh, no, just to kind of tag on to that, in the Nickel tour, I loved how one of the reasons why we didn't see that come to fruition, Dave Mumford and Bruce Gordon say in their witty way, it says, alas, there were some physical realities needed to make all this happen, such as getting the Jungle Cruise water to flow into the new attraction. It just wouldn't flow uphill. And the way that having seen these two guys talk in person, I'm not quite sure if I'm supposed to actually believe that or if that's them just being tongue in cheek. Were there actual like physical realities to it regarding the Jungle Cruise that kept it, or was it more of a budgetary, okay, that's nice when you're throwing the kitchen sink into this. Now, here's how much money you have. What are you gonna do now?
This concept, and there's another concept art that actually shows kind of the reverse angle, so you see the train in the distance. That one was a little bit more movie poster style, where this is very much more cartoony comic book style. But yeah, that couldn't happen. So when the construction started, one of the things that they had to do was actually reconstruct part of the Jungle Cruise. Where the Temple of the Forbidden Eye is right now used to be part of the Jungle Cruise. Mm-hmm. They had to move it, they had to shorten it, and there were actually a couple of animatronics in that area. There was the alligator trying to get the toucan, and the toucan is actually still in the new queue from 1994 or 95 of Jungle Cruise when you're going up the stairs, and that's the original toucan that was on the ride. So they had to reroute that. They had to shut down the train for a couple of months, where the Walt Disney World Railroad's been shut down for almost a year now, year and a half for one ride. Yeah. But that was the early days. Like, I can remember going up to the Disney Gallery above Pirates of the Caribbean, and you could look down from one of the side windows and actually see the construction.
Yeah.
And also, as more things pop into my head, please stop me if I just start rambling, because I know I can do this. The show building for the Indiana Jones adventure was part of the parking lot. It was part of the Eeyore parking lot, which leads to another great hidden thing, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later on. As the construction went, we started seeing more walls, more Indiana Jones coming in. We still didn't really have much of an idea until the Disney magazine came out that had kind of the basic layout of what Rebekah wrote. But one of the selling points of it that I'm surprised isn't in that description at all is Indiana Jones. There it is. So I was completely wrong. The concept art was on the inside.
Yep. That's so cute.
It happens. It comes with age, Jeremiah. Just get used to it.
But
misspoke 3.
It's all good.
The attraction was the first attraction that was not. It was interactive. Tony Baxter, a couple of years ago at San Diego Comic-Con, did a talk where he was talking about how and why different things happened with Indiana Jones. as you can see, that's the basic track as they're building the building. But along the track is the cars react to the attraction around you. It's no longer Miss Trode's Wild Ride or Haunted Mansion where you're not part of the story, you're just going through it. The vehicles actually are on a motion base, which was one of the biggest challenges they had.
Mm-hmm.
And as you go through the attraction, when the blow darts come at you in the final scene before you see Indy, the car reacts to those or lunges back when the snake attacks you.
That kind of stuff, those kinds of things about Indiana Jones are really wild to me still. The way that, like, you have, in essence, it's two vehicles in some ways kind of smushed together, right? Because you have one vehicle that's maintaining a very stable course, a very, all four tires very firmly cemented on the ground. But then above it, you have, and I have to say, I feel like I didn't truly comprehend what I was experiencing in Indiana Jones and its counterpart Dinosaur until I went on Kilimanjaro Safari. Because on Kilimanjaro Safari, for me, I can visually, like, actually connect the dots better as to the idea of all four tires on the ground, but yet up here it's moving kind of not connected with what's happening to its base. And because Indy cars, the troop transports disappear so quickly, and I don't, I'm so caught up in the experience, I don't really look at the vehicles themselves in the attraction. It wasn't really until I was on one of the safari trucks that I began to think about, okay, right. I'm moving up here, but the tires are all four still, stable on the ground. And
it's amazing because much bumping around is happening, but we're losing no one.
We're losing no one.
Shelley.
Yes.
You have some general Indiana Jones and adventure. I want to mention real quick. You mentioned the train. No, you didn't. You mentioned the Eeyore parking lot and the Jungle Cruise were rerouted, but also the monorail had to be rerouted to accommodate the Indiana Jones show as well, which is just amazing to think all that went into this, aside from the construction of the ride itself. I mean, this is one of the most expensive undertakings they've ever taken for a single attraction. Thankfully, it absolutely paid off with probably the third or fourth greatest attraction at Adventureland. So, Shelley, what are your general thoughts on Indiana Jones Adventure?
No, I think that, like what Rebecca was saying, how it starts off so small and then you're just kind of blown away when you go into the room and you see all the layers going. It took me a while to, like, understand, because the first ride, I feel like all you do is you go, what is going on? And then you start to process each ride, and every time through the queue, because the queue for me is just an experience all in and of itself. I was with Jeremiah, and he was the one that pointed out the signs, because, I mean, like I said, I didn't go to Disneyland until much later, so I didn't know much about it. So knowing what the runes meant and the decoders, I still don't know what the decoding means, but it's really cool that there's so many different layers to this ride, and story just, like, isn't everywhere you turn. That's one of the weird things with the reality of Fast Pass and just guest flow and attractions and whatnot. When I went, you kind of were forced to wait in line, so you got to decode stuff. Whereas now you're almost in the way if you're trying to decode stuff. Or now there's the new the Disney Play experience that they have, and I tried to do it, but I just felt so not conspicuous, but I was having to constantly be like, go by me, and I was standing as far to the side of the queue as I could with my gadget in hand. I felt like I was very clearly indicating I was not, progressing.
I would
weird things.
Venture to say that the majority of people who are writing this today, at least those writing it for the first time, have no idea why this is like it is. Way to go, Doobie. That's not what I wanted to do. It's just not loading. That's okay. Oh, there it is.
There it goes. There's the word load. Okay.
No idea that this is meant to be interpreted, and that there is and that there is a such thing as this. And when I was writing this back in the 90s, I mean, you got your decoder card from AT&T, Choose Wisely, and you went through, and eventually we went through so many times, you'd learn that, how to read it without the card. It's not that difficult. But that was a really fun part of the attraction that's now, I think, for the most part, just disappeared, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that while Fast Pass and everything is so convenient, I feel like you definitely, on some attractions, lose some of the experience because you're missing out on some of that introduction to the pieces that you'll later see. And I mean, it wasn't until like my second visit to Disneyland after I talked to Jeremiah that was a thing. And I really tried to pay attention, but you're right, people will mow you over trying to get to the ride. I don't blame them. It's a fantastic ride to get to, but
yeah, it's like, wait, I'm in line. The point of the line is to get from point A to point B. Yeah, I understand.
But you're missing an important part of it. Jeremiah.
Shelly, do you have a fan on you blowing your hair?
I do.
No glamour shots.
I do. No. I'm over at my parents' house and they keep it a little bit warmer than I keep my house. So I have a fan.
Oh, I've seen that Seinfeld. Yes.
Yeah, it's like 80 degrees in here. It's totally fine.
That image you had at the beginning, there was a snake in it, right? That was the one you had. No, you didn't have it. I saw it on the screen, but I thought I did it.
So,
no.
One thing I thought was funny is Rebekah was talking about, Jeremiah was talking about how there was no internet back in the 90s, which I don't know what college he went to. We had it at UCLA. But so there was no I'm not kidding. I was not at UCLA in the 90s. I was at UCLA in the 80s. And we had no internet. You didn't know what this ride was exactly until you rode the ride, which is just a bizarre concept right now. You have to work hard now to not know exactly what a ride is until you actually ride it for the first time, unless you're media like Jeremiah. But for most of us, we have to really work to stay out of to avoid spoilers. But back then, and Rebekah found this clip, which I'm going to play, which is pretty cool. This was your introduction to what something like Indiana Jones Adventure was like.
Hey, which way to the Indiana Jones Adventure, do you know? Oh, thanks. The Temple of the Forbidden Eye. The Indiana Jones Adventure. Let's go in. It's time to ride. It's pretty spooky. It's kind of scary. We got problems. We're not going to make it across the bridge. Hold on, folks. Ooh, a big snake. There's a big snake over there. That's how they drive in Vegas. Uh-oh, I think we're having car trouble. Oh, man.
So I can remember when a new Disney attraction would come out, you would record the evening news, right? And then you'd get something like this, where it was your local reporter, or if you're in Florida, when a new attraction would open, it'd be the East Coast reporters, and it'd be a mixture of B-roll that was probably part of a commercial coupled with your local news talker showing their experience. So it'd be very little new stuff. When you saw something that was new, you'd get super excited. Wait, that wasn't in the commercial. And you get really excited. Wait, a little bit more, that kind of thing. And versus now an attraction opens and it's POV from, 30 different outlets. It's amazing.
Jeremiah, you speaking of pre-opening, you had an experience before it actually opened up. You want to talk about that?
So way back in the 90s, before the internet was a thing to the world, the only way that we as Disneyland annual pass holders knew about anything was mailers. And then they just started doing AP parties, which now everybody thinks, oh, AP parties, we have those all the time. This was probably one of the most amazing things back in the day. The AP parties, there were a couple in a row, so I don't remember exactly which one was which. We had one where we walked the dark rides of Fantasyland, like walked through Pinocchio, walked through, not Peter Pan, but we got a chance to do that. And we actually walked backstage of the Country Bear Jamboree and got to see the bears. I wish I had my camera from back then. But the true highlight of this annual pass party was twofold. One, they did a presentation in the Opera House where Great Most Mr. Lincoln is, that kind of gave us the highlights of the Indiana Jones adventure. They showed a lot of the concept art. They had the Imagineers who back in the day, they were, godlike to us. We didn't have the chance to interact with them via social media all the time. If you heard an Imagineer is coming out, you just got excited.
Mm-hmm.
So they took us through the entire ride on that in the theater. And then probably one of the, I think Indiana Jones kind of inspired some of the true dumbest things I've ever done as an annual pass holder in my life. There was a line that ran all the way down Main Street, and I got in it, and it was to wait 2 hours. We waited the entire length of Main Street into Adventureland to get into the queue for Indiana Jones, to walk through the queue of Indiana Jones, to see how exciting it was to push that pole, to make the spike room drop, to see the skulls, to go, oh, look, there's that, to pull the rope we're not supposed to pull. And then as soon as we got to the load platform, it was, thank you. We'll see you in a couple of months. And we exited to the left.
Did they at least have a vehicle there for you to look at?
They did, but we couldn't get close enough to actually see anything. We could see it. It was pretty much, they took us through when you went into the room we didn't make it into the pre-show. They swerved us out and up to the unload and then right back down.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the longest? That's dumb, Jeremiah.
It's excellent. No, and it was brilliant. And if you think about the time frame, each one of those people then went and told people how excited they were, and they had this little bit of ownership in something, because there's now they're part of this little secret club. It's like viral marketing before you could truly go internet viral. Is just so clever.
We have
it's one of those things I adore. I don't know. I think it's so cool.
A quick question. Does anybody know the answer? Can you still request a Dakota card at Disneyland?
I thought you could, but I don't know.
They were passing them out because of the anniversary, in the before times.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they still have them. I know that Mike got one when he went to try to go do the Play Disney thing, which I tried to do it when I was out there at the beginning of the year, and you don't have enough time to do the Play Disney app on that.
I can say with certainty you can request one, which is what they actually ask. Just not sure if they will be able to give you
one.
Yeah, we were there shortly before closure, and we got a card, but it was part of the promotion. But I don't know how long that promotion was anticipated to run, because they even had specialty desserts at the hideaway, the lounge, the patio area there off the side. So yeah, but hopefully, I hope they still have them. You're welcome, Jamie.
You're welcome. Glad we could be of assistance.
One of the
Not really.
One of the things that I discovered in doing in reading about this that I did not realize was that this was one of the last attractions that Herb Ryman did concept for. So So this image that Judy's sharing. Apparently he passed away not terribly long after some of the work that he did on this attraction was. So I was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize the timing of his career was.
I would have never that. Yeah, that's cool. Herb Ryman, true genius. Yeah. They should plant a tree for him.
They did. It's a beautiful little tree right by the castle.
They did.
There should be a Herb Ryman Foundation.
There
is.
Oh, wait a second.
There is.
So May 4th is when it officially opened. This picture was from before the official opening. We have a Herbie fan here. I think she means Ryman, but she could mean the bug.
Do you have the one that's the silhouette? Do you know? Oh, see. Okay, so here, let me show. Okay. So this, is it on screen? Because I can't see. It's about to be. Is it?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so this picture apparently was set up in a room where it was like a pitch meeting with Eisner, and apparently he just kind of stopped mid-meeting. Who did that? It just that one image really just caught his eye, and I've seen that story repeated numerous places by Eddie Sato. And it was one of those things where it's just okay.
So good point. On Star Wars Day, that is the day March the 4th, not May the 4th. Sorry, not on Star Wars Day, on March 4th. Indiana Jones officially opened. Here's a picture from the opening. We have then CEO Michael Eisner, then head of Lucasfilm, which created he directed Indiana Jones, right, Jeremiah?
Yes.
The guy who's at the end of Star Tours, George Lucas. And then we have a cast member, and then we have not Harrison Ford here because he did not attend the grand opening, nor did he lend his voice to the Indiana Jones adventure. So the voice you're hearing in there, even though you would swear it's Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, is actually someone by the name of Dave Temple, which I found interesting. But he did.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's Dave Temple, but it is his likeness, but not his voice. And just to give you an idea of when this opened, among the star-studded celebrities at this big event were Dan Aykroyd, Brendan Fraser, Elliot Gould, Lindsay Wagner. We're talking big time. Tony Danza. So it was a big event. I watched some B-roll of the celebrities reacting, and I believe Arnold Schwarzenegger quote was, "It was great." So I decided that wasn't worth including, but.
It was great.
And if you picked up a park map around that time, you had differing interpretation, right? So like shortly after its opening, you would have had things like this, where it's, concept and maybe a single image. And then later on, there you go.
Pocahontas.
The golden era when you can see Spirit of Pocahontas.
So
Wingapo.
Indiana Jones Adventure opened March 4th, 1995. Disneyland's 40th birthday was July 17th, 1995. So hence they created 40 Years of Adventure. That's the tie-in for why 40 Years of Adventure, as Jeremiah is so beautifully showing us there. I actually became a Disneyland fan right in the midst of there. My first trip back after my childhood was on Memorial Day, 1995. So this to me is like the beginning of my fandom. And I remember that July 17th, I was there when Indiana Jones himself, the real Indiana Jones, not some Harrison Ford actor, but the real guy, slid down the Matterhorn. And that was such a cool moment.
As Randy Travis
saying happy birthday.
Nothing says Disneyland buzz like Randy Travis and Indiana Jones.
And they unfurled the big 40 Years of Adventure banner. So
cool. And then they also had the voice cast of Pocahontas was there because that was the big film at the time, the big animated. Really? Yeah. They were there at the castle, and then they put that big thing in the ground. Right?
And so with Jeremiah, the time capsule, which we're closer now to opening than to putting in the ground, which
is so bizarre.
Are we? Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
So Jeremiah, for the 41 days leading up to the opening of Indiana Jones, Disneyland gave a collector card every day because they really wanted to make sure annual pass holders got use of their passes. So if you came in the park, you got a card, and you had to get it that day. Jeremiah, did you do that 41 days in a row?
Back to the stupid things Jeremiah did for Indiana Jones.
Round two.
Yes, this one is. I actually, at some point I will showcase all the cards. I have this huge thought in my head, but the first couple of thousand of people that bought an annual pass after the new year got full packs of cards. Everybody else had to go every day, get a voucher, go redeem the voucher, get a card, and you could do that every day for 41 days. I didn't find out about these great cards until about a week and a half in. So I missed 55. I can actually tell you that the first card that I got was 1963, going the wrong way, the Tiki Room. So all these other cool cards, Walt on opening day, the Rocket Jets, House of the Future, all those I didn't get. If I had to trace back why pin trading was such a thing, it's because of these stupid cards. And if I had to trace back the origins of Disney going, hey, we're going to start taking away APs from people who sell things.
Yeah.
These stupid cards.
They used to sell those. Like, people would come with their entire family.
Are you saying without these cards, we would not
wouldn't be eBay.
Jeremiah is the king of If not for X, we would not have Y.
Why?
So I drove every day to Disneyland for far too many days. From Lancaster, I worked at Universal Studios, and then would drive to Disneyland either before or after my shift.
I thought I was crazy going there after work when I worked in Azusa.
That's insane.
Wow.
This also leads to anytime Mike says that Pirates is the best attraction in the world, I will argue with him, because my normal day would be go in, get my voucher, go over to Adventureland, exchange the card at the bazaar, and then go ride Pirates and go up to the gallery and look at construction. So I rode Pirates more times than I can count in that 40 days.
I feel sorry. I'm curious.
I like that was just a perfectly normal sentence for Jeremiah to say. I would go get my voucher, traded it at the bazaar.
What's the longest you've ever waited for Indy, Jeremiah?
At least 3 hours.
Have
But
you
3 hours was breakdown time. Like Indiana Jones, much like Rise of the Resistance, was the groundbreaking attraction. So it still, to this day, has more downtime than most attractions in Disneyland. Also, this was a great attraction in the worst area in the park, because Adventureland at that time had the Enchanted Tiki Room and the Jungle Cruise. Yes, the treehouse was there, but nobody cares. Thanks, Doobie.
No, it's not for that treehouse, Jeremiah.
If not for that treehouse, I wouldn't have almost passed out from heat exhaustion one day, thanks to Doobie. So the line would go back onto Main Street, and then they would have crossovers for regular park guests to get to Jungle Cruise right at the entrance of Adventureland. So it was a giant maze of queue. And watching the poor cast members trying to handle the traffic, because you think up to that time, Space Mountain and Star Tours were the biggest things. Star Tours was huge, always had a big queue, but they didn't have to worry about a crossover into other attractions.
And Splash is way on the outer edge of the park.
But back to the cards of stupidity. Yes,
of delight.
I was able to get that.
Delight. Oh,
Hold it up.
That is really pretty.
Is that the 41st card?
That is. So each of the other cards they made, I'm looking at my thing. I think it was, 90,000 of each of the other ones. So that is 210,000 of these cards.
Wow.
The card packs, they didn't sell them all because they were asking, annual pass rates, which at that time were $99.
$99.
So later in life, after I spent many, many days in gas, and I don't want to say it cost me a relationship, but it may have.
I thought you had gas.
No, I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Transport costs. I would love to see that breakdown. Time, travel, wear and tear on your vehicle. How much have you truly invested in these cars?
Well, the worst part was when eBay, these created eBay.
Yeah.
When the Disney auction site started, they actually sold the packs of cards.
Yeah.
I got one of those packs of cards. I think it was $10.
I can remember people being angry over the fact that after all of that, they allowed you to buy full packs.
Yeah, but it was also like 10 years later.
AP's never.
No,
We have long memory.
they did sell these in the park, and I've actually been able to acquire 2 of these
Oh, very cool.
for a whole whopping. Can you let me if I can?
$7.95.
$7.95. I bought one at a Disneyland show itself for I think $20, and
Wow.
then this one I actually bought this and an entire set of the cards in this. I think this cost me $30. So
Wow. That's less than
Yes.
gas.
Speaking of cards, do you have the ones that they did at Epcot where they would have the character in the Epcot Pavilion? Did you
No.
do those when that was a thing? How about you,
I
Shelley?
didn't
No?
make it to those.
I have a portion of them, but I didn't go enough to the parks because I lived on the West Coast that I don't have a complete set. But I have quite a collection, quite an incomplete collection of Epcot character cards. They're quite cute.
So Indiana Jones opened in 1995. I started going to Disneyland in May. I did not ride Indy for the first time until July 4th because I'm like, that line is long and there's no way it's that good. So on the 4th of July, I finally rode it, but I did wait until about 2 a.m. So I was able to wait. I think it was about 45 minutes my first ride, and I was blown away, to say the least. What really amazes me about Indiana Jones, it did not have its first scheduled refurbishment until 2012. Is that right? Am I reading that right? I mean, I know it went down a lot, but an extended period of time, because a lot of attractions go down every year. Indiana Jones, go ahead, Jeremiah.
It didn't have a full, long refurbishment. Like, they would shut it down for short refurbishments, but the 2012 one was like, they went in and took out the ice machine that didn't work after the first few months. Because if you go back and look, the first couple of years, actually until 2012, the giant room had water at the bottom. And then in 2012, they removed all the water and just turned it into smoke. So there wasn't corrosion and mold and everything in there. But yeah, the attraction, because it was the number one attraction at Disneyland for, some will still say to this day.
Did you get to experience the ice flow effect, the rocks, the boulders?
It was cool.
Was it cool?
It was. And again, this is one of my favorite things about Tony Baxter, who will talk at nauseum if you let him about stuff. Shelley, you never saw this, so
no, I'm not interested.
Well, I'm glad she's interested about something.
Now I'm paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. Up until now, whatever.
Well, okay. Let me run through the ride, and I'll talk about some of the things that have changed. And so you start off in the opening where you load. Doobie, you have I'm sure you have some cool pictures as I talk.
Go ahead.
Or not. You start off the load. When you pulled out of the load, there would be a mirror that's still there to that day, but it doesn't work as well because you weren't supposed to see what was going on, but the mirror gave you a preview of the 3 doors of Earthly Riches, Earthly Riches, the Fountain of Youth, or Vision of the Future. I know those aren't the correct names of them. I just can't think of them that quickly. So you would see in the mirror the reflection of the car ahead of you and which door it went in. So when you turn the corner, you would go in a different door. When it originally opened, and up until a few years ago, this is what it currently looks like. Back then, the 3 doors would rotate. There were 5 doors, and they would rotate to the side. You would always go down the same track. No matter what, it's the same track, but the doors would be different, and they would rotate.
Because see, the emblems at the top, Shelley, are which
one you're going through. Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, that was always one of the big problems, was the full wall rotating. So they changed it over to the projection mapping, which is great, but it kind of takes away a little bit. And then once you go inside that door, there it is.
Yeah. And now they accomplish that with projection mapping rather than shifting the facade.
Yeah, it just stays the center 3, and then the projection mapping changes to what door you're going in. And then once you go through the door, the chamber inside had different effects. And one of my favorite things is the Observatory of the Future, that giant eye emblem. That wasn't there more often than not for some reason when it first opened. Like, you would pull in, you'd be like, ooh, stars, or ooh, wavy things, or water. And it was all done with just lighting changes and
It was-
scrims.
It was scrims, similar to what you
Mhm.
experienced in the Muppet Theater when
So
the Muppet Theater explodes.
So you could pretty easily see the other destinations if
Depending
you
on
knew
your
what you were
angle.
looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Whereas now
Yeah.
it's the projection mapping, which is so incredible. Same with Mara. Mara was just a carved, gold toned figure, and now there's like motion and fire, and it's really incredible the way that the deity comes alive thanks to the projection mapping.
yeah, when they did that, I was actually there on one of the first days of the projection mapping. So I, on my own personal YouTube channel, because this was before Laughing Place days, I know, I'm sorry, Doobie, I didn't mean to offend you, have the video of that. And it's funny because, as Doobie mentioned, annual pass holders never forget. And they changed the voice of Mara when they changed the projection to this higher pitch voice, and there was a huge outcry.
Oh, really?
It started a whole social media blitz of like, how dare they?
Oh, that's awesome.
They brought in the voice again, like, because they had to redo it because it had to fit with the crumbling and everything.
Yeah.
So after you see Mara and somebody, Doobie, looks into the eyes of Mara, you swing left, and you see the path that you're supposed to go down. Then you swing left again, and that's when you see the indie animatronic holding in the World of Color in the doors, which is actually changed because at one point the animatronic was holding the doors, leaning forward, and then it was changed to him leaning against the door, trying to hold it in. I can't remember which one was which. So Indy succeeds in holding in the World of Color, and then he goes, swing left, but watch out, there are big stairs. And as you go up, you start bumping down the stairs, and one of the lasers that would come out of the Mara skull would hit the ceiling. And in the first, I know that the machine was there forever. I don't know exactly how long the ice effect lasted, but I know it wasn't that long. There was an ice machine, like a homemade, how you make ice in your refrigerator, and it would pump out ice, the laser would hit it, and ice would fall to the ground. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
And
it was a great effect.
And because of the density, because of the visual and the way the ice would react with, as it would combine and crash and smash and all that, it would just seem as though there was this, rock?
Yeah, like
fountain of rocks just appearing out of the ceiling above,
Yeah, the ceiling was crumbling, and that was, it was an amazing effect, but it got
many times. So
you saw it?
I saw it several times, yeah. Probably, all within 1995, but plenty of times.
Yeah,
I wrote it in 95. I have no memory of it. It doesn't mean it didn't happen.
I
just don't remember.
It broke a lot, obviously. So just because you wrote it when it was still there doesn't mean you got to experience it, much like the Rat Room.
So.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. So after the crumbling of the wall, you swing left into the skeleton room. Can you put up that one skeleton again, Doobie?
I'm working on it.
So that was the skeletons. And there is one classic skeleton that does have mouse ears. His name is Bones. It's actually embroidered on his hat. I know the person who did that.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Nothing. Doobie's just poking fun at you. Humble brag.
So you see that, then you swing in a wide turn. And in the early days, you didn't see a giant fan that was directly in front of you. Now you can see the huge industrial fan of the Rat Room. You come or of the skeleton room. You come out of the skeleton room. You see the skull of Mara, and then you swing into the bug room, which is just bad projection. Like that projection, they've not updated ever.
No, it's dated. I wouldn't say bad. It's dated.
It is the original thing. Like they've done a little bit of.
We're from California. We don't know, Amy. They're in Florida. We're in California. Weather.
Yeah, there's no snow.
What is this?
So you pull into the bug room, your headlights flicker on and off, you see bugs crawling on the wall, and then they have air jets that shoot down at you that make you feel like bugs are falling on you. Not really, but it's
I didn't even know that was the effect they were going for.
I have to say, the bug room for me is like the least effective, the least. When I'm in there, I'm kind of like, yeah, it's one of those moments where I'm like, what were they? Right. What is this?
It is time for some dissension in this kumbaya discussion we're having.
What?
Picture yourself, Cicely, on the first time riding this attraction. You come into this dark room. You have no idea what's going to happen. All of a sudden, the headlights come on, and there are all these bugs in front of you. That is effective.
It wasn't, though.
Continue.
It didn't work. The rats worked for me. The rats. Yeah, I lucked out when I came around the corner. Yeah.
Wait, we're not there yet.
I'm sorry, but it worked for me. But this particular one, it was like considering like how layered and dimensional and all that everything was. That moment felt like. Yeah, it felt like Fantasyland Dark Ride. I'm in the midst of this like next level attraction, and now you've taken me back to Mr. Toad before the redo.
Okay, you're on. Go ahead, Jeremiah.
Rebekah misspoke. One of the things that I want, one of the rumors that
my side.
Yeah. Go ahead.
One of the rumors that I want to dispel is some people think for some reason when you're in the bug room, there's a cast member to the right that's people have sworn they see cast members standing or sitting in the projection area. There's no cast members on the ride. It doesn't happen. That's just one of my personal pet peeves.
Oh wow!
Jeremiah rant.
Okay,
Jeremiah rant for that. Okay.
So you pull out of the bug room. You're on the bridge. The Mara skull shoots lasers and fire. Your car reacts. You pull forward into the snake room. I can ask all three of you, what is the equivalent of the snake room for dinosaur?
Is it where you go in and there are the raptors?
No.
It's not the Carnotaurus eating the thing?
No.
I don't know. What is it?
Is it the toaster oven?
No.
I'm sorry. No. So when you're going across the bridge, that's when you see the burping dinosaur. And then when you pull into the pterodactyls, that's the snake room.
Okay. I meant to say, yeah.
Okay.
So, sorry, that's the Disneyland. And Dinosaur and Indiana Jones have almost the exact same track. There's a small difference between Dinosaur and Indy. Nothing major, though.
Right.
Okay, so you go into the snake room. The lunging snake, which has been completely replaced multiple times.
Yes.
Because the head never would work at the pace they wanted. Your car reacts to the snake. You pull out, you go down behind the skull of Mara, which back in the day used to actually have skulls all the way down. Mm-hmm. And cast members that used to find lost and found sunglasses would put the sunglasses on the skulls.
Fun.
More times than I could count, the first thing in the morning, you would see sunglasses sitting on skulls. Like, oh.
That's fun. I love it. Love it.
You pull in, you see the projection of the demon.
Demon-like, yeah.
Yeah,
which is, again, a scrim.
Yep.
And then that lights up. You get the... You pull out, you see the large room one more time. And then you go into the effect that didn't work properly for about the first 10 years of the attraction. The rat room.
Wait, that's where we started this conversation. You did all this to get to the rat room?
No.
I did. Well, I'm going to keep going past the rat room. But yes, the rat room. As it was told to us in the AP thing is holograms. We would see holograms of rats.
Right.
You beg to differ?
I definitely beg to differ because it's smoke effect with rats being projected on it. And that projection didn't work for many years. Mostly because the vehicles would move so quickly through that scene, it would drag the smoke with it. So most cars would hardly get any of the projection. You would hear the rat thumping on the hood, falling off the branch, which if you pay attention to it, works perfectly. But that didn't work.
Based on the fan publication, I think it was the Break Zone back then. The thought at the what was explained at the time was that, I think it actually appeared on Laughing Place by Rick West, was that the room operations were altered based on fire code. And the initial thought was that the doors would be able to close. So you'd, in essence, stop wind flow, and that would be able to set it up. But fire codes, I guess, made it where at least one of the doors had to remain open. And that was not something that it seems, as it was written, was discovered until very late in it. This is one of those things where it's like, is this lore or is this actual design?
That's a very solid source. Doesn't make it true, but it is it's better than Joe on Reddit. I'll give it that. That's for sure.
That it was one of that's why that effect has been so challenging, is that it was initially thought that it would be in essence in a closed environment, and so it could reset and then move on, but they weren't permitted to do so to keep it up to safety.
But that said, once they did finally fix it, or the couple of times I feel like I experienced it way back in the day, it is extremely effective. I mean, you duck, plain and simple, you duck.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, it's just an icky way of doing what they ended up doing with Pirates, right? Blackbeard, you have the Blackbeard waterfall, and then you think you're going to go back because you're going in the waterfall, but it's, ends up being this mist. And if you're far enough behind the boat in front of you, that can be a very intimidating visual. Here, you've got these rats scurrying across a branch, and then and then when you approach it, you have the thud, 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 and you can feel the concussion on the Jeep hood as it's just ew. Yeah.
Heebie-jeebies.
I'm really thankful. I'll be honest. This attraction would not be as much of my favorite if they had in those seat things that bugs fly, or can you imagine you're strapped into this Jeep and you think bugs or rats have fallen into the vehicle, and then all of a sudden you're feeling stuff on your legs. I'd be like, oh no, I'm out. I'm out.
That'll be the next rehab.
No, thank you.
Yeah, too bad we can't.
Too far.
Would you like to finish the ride, Jeremiah?
Sorry, go ahead, Jeremiah.
I will finish the ride. So after you experience the rats, you turn the corner, and then you're faced with the giant hallway with the skeleton soldiers, skeleton warriors, that your car stops, and then as you proceed, blow darts start coming out left and right, and your car just sways back and forth, or air comes out, but your car still reacts, and it's a great effect. Even as simple as it is, it's definitely old school haunted house, but people still, just like with the rats, still duck.
What?
This is the one that always disappointed me. You're in this cool room. First of all, it's flat. Hello,
You're
dark
so
ride
wrong.
People. It's flat.
But
These
it's
aren't.
painted
Let me finish.
dimensionally.
These aren't dimensional dinosaurs. These aren't dimensional skeletons. They're flat, and there's nothing coming out. There's nothing. You're just you don't even barely feel anything. This was the disappointing room to me. The bug room, pretty cool. The dart room, pretty disappointing.
Shelly.
No, I'm saying he's living in a world of wrong. Because the bugs are just like, oh, bugs, da, 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 da. But when the blow darts are coming, and you're like, boop, 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 boop. And you're already used to things being on the wall. So that's why that didn't bother me being dimensional. But when the air and I like this room.
What exactly is
That was
going on?
excellently put.
I want a T-shirt, by the way. Living in the world of wrong. I like that a lot.
Did you ride with people who would poke you?
That was the fun part.
When you would go on it, all the APs I would go with, when you would enter this room, all of a sudden it'd be poke, 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 poke.
It was great when we were dating because it gave me an excuse to touch her.
Yeah, no, so lovely. Yes. Nothing like being stabbed in the side by the guy you're dating in a room of poisonous darts. True love.
It worked.
I think I saw that movie once. Okay.
Jeremiah,
so
we've gotten through this hard dart room. What's next?
I can't believe
We
it.
go through the dart room. We swing around. We come to a room where we see Indiana Jones hanging from a rope. There's a light only on him, so you see nothing else in the room. He says, let me in. And then all of a sudden the light comes on and you see a boulder start to roll towards you. And in that room, you don't move. Your Jeep stays completely stable. The entire room moves towards you.
No!
The Imagineering Way. Tony Baxter talking about this. He's talking about how they wanted a ride vehicle to suddenly start backing up as the giant rolling boulder comes thundering towards us. He says, so where did we come up with this very effective solution for making your perception be that the boulder was coming towards you? He says, well, we've learned to look for inspiration in the real world because that's where the best solutions usually are. And what's the real world equivalent of our Indiana Jones scene? A car wash. One of those self-service machines at the gas station where you pull your car in and park while a series of brushes and spray heads mounted above and beside your car slowly travel back and forth. So if you've ever went, that's the funnest thing. So it's the perception of the car being in motion, and in reality,
you're parked.
Yeah, for sure.
That's happened to me when I park, like when you're in a parking lot and you don't realize somebody's in the car beside you, right?
Oh,
and you're like, whoa, did I forget to hit the brake? And then it's just the car beside me is backing out. I'm not going anywhere.
So the boulder rolls, you sit there, and then you dive under. You run into Indy, who the boulder is somehow behind and cracked, and we just accept it.
I always get lost in this part. The visuals here are very confusing. What are we looking at?
This is the inspiration for Indiana Jones and at the car wash. Whoa. Talking about the car wash, yeah.
That's not my favorite car
Come
wash.
on now and sing it with me. I'm sorry about that. Go on, Jeremiah.
And then he says many different sayings as you come down, whether you should have kept your eyes closed next time you wear a blindfold, whatever. And then you pull in
big fun.
Exactly.
Wait a minute.
Nope, wrong retraction. You pull in to unload, and Sala greets us saying, if you drank too much from the Fountain of Youth, we have strollers for your convenience.
I love that.
He has different sayings. It used to coincide with what room you went into, but now it's just any of the different throwouts. So that's the ride.
I have a
really
Sala
quick
story.
Yes.
Here's Sala. They used the real Sala from the movie, right?
Yes.
He's a very solid actor. That was a terrible pun. His first ride on Indiana Jones did not come until 2014 when he visited here with his family, and he finally got to ride it. I believe his quote was, "It's really wonderful, isn't it?" So that's the end of my Sala story.
Yeah, because the stuff that they filmed was all done before the attraction opened. That clip that you showed with Sala, Tony, and the girl who played Marion, that was actually one of the specials that is really, really bad. Like, it is one of those Disneyland specials that was, you go back and watch it and you go, oh, why did we want to go to the park then?
No, we loved them.
Right, so
yes.
that's Indiana Jones. I'm pretty sure we covered pretty much every single thing there is to know about Indiana Jones in California, except for one thing, Jeremiah.
Well, now I have to do a throwback to when we first started. So when they built the Indiana Jones Adventure, they had to move the monorail and they took out some of the parking lot. There was a parking lot sign, and back in the day before Disney California Adventure, each section of the parking lot was a different character. That section was the Eeyore section. When you go through the queue and you're in the room where Sala is talking and he talks about Shelley's favorite part about the seatbelts,
I love that part.
There is actually a Eeyore sign that was saved and put up in the rafters behind the projector.
Yes. I have been with many person who is showing that off to their friend. Not me, because I feel too conspicuous. But I've seen many other people walk into that room, turn around, look up at its placement kind of reminds me of when you're on Winnie the Pooh and you're trying to spot Max, Buff, and Melvin, because you're kind of like looking up and back and you feel really conspicuous in your ride vehicle doing that.
So I'm going to assume he's talking to me about Solid Stories.
I think he's talking about the attraction.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to take it.
And I am definitely taking credit for this one. Whoa. So now with that Eeyore sign, there's also a great hidden Mickey there on the Life magazine. That's one of my favorite hidden Mickeys. Mm-hmm. Now you know everything there is to know about.
There's also hidden Lucasfilm things.
Indiana Jones in California, but apparently there's a similar ride somewhere else. Has anybody been there?
I haven't.
I haven't.
Me either.
We're in Tokyo. Have any of us been to Tokyo Disneyland? Disney Sea?
Wait a second. I think one of us has.
World traveler Jeremiah is here.
Jeremiah.
Yes.
We've been going for a while here. We don't go too much longer, but I know it is largely the same in Tokyo, but there is one scene which is just amazing, and I have a clip of it. Can you set up the clip? I'm sure you know which scene I'm talking about. The tornado.
Oh yes, the backdraft scene. Yes.
You set that up, and then I'll play a quick clip of that because it just blows me away every single time.
This is in the main room where in Temple of the Forbidden Eye you see the Mara skull. The attraction is very much just like Temple of the Forbidden Eye. The story is different because you're in the Lost River Delta down in South America. So you pull into the room and...
I've been ready. That's so cool. Is it as cool in person?
That wasn't the tornado effect.
That's the scene I'm talking about. Is there more?
Oh, no. I thought you were talking about the tornado. That's the fireball.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. I'm talking about the fireball.
The fireball. That's pretty cool.
The fireball is very cool. It's really cool in the Winnie the Pooh attraction in Florida. That's right.
But
that's in Florida?
Well, it's a smoke curl.
Oh, yeah, it's just a smoke ring.
Similar thing.
It's a similar effect, but this looks so much cooler.
And then
it does look cooler.
And then what you were trying to, and then what Jeremiah thought you were setting up was that when you enter into that major chamber, that in between you and the rickety bridge is this spiral tornado visual.
All right, mental note. Anything regarding Tokyo, Jeremiah gives me the clips for.
Yeah.
I'll work on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very cool.
It is very much the same attraction. The Lost River Delta in Tokyo Disney Sea is themed all around Indiana Jones. There is a C-3PO plane that is on the water.
Oh, cool. He's getting there. Hang on. There it goes.
This is Disney Sea, right?
He's bringing it.
Yes. That is the load platform. Again, looks very much like Disneyland.
Sorry, I'm looking at the thing here. Keep talking, Jeremiah. We're going to get you.
The ride is very similar. There are a few different effects, but because the entire section is Indiana Jones, not only is the attraction different because it's in an Incan pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
There's a C-3PO plane.
Yep.
And then you're in our
Incan pyramid.
There's the Incan pyramid,
which makes me feel like I'm riding on this water slide at Coronado Springs.
Yes, it is massive, and the little altar right in front of the pyramid is a great place to sacrifice your Duffy and friend.
That's hilarious.
We do not sacrifice our Duffies.
No, that is a photo spot, of course. Also in the Lost River Delta, they have a roller coaster. That is it right there. This roller coaster is very unique. That's the cue. There you go, Shelley.
There's my seatbelts.
Load platform, temple. So Raging Spirits is the coaster in Tokyo Disney Sea. It is an upside down roller coaster. That's the mine car concept that happened way back in the day. It is really just an off-the-shelf coaster that they themed around, in this case, fire and water, which has some amazing effects, very tight loop. But this coaster is also an exact duplicate of a coaster that is in Disneyland Paris.
Which I have some pictures of right here. What's it called, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Peril.
No, come on.
No, that's what it says, Temple of Peril.
Oh, that's pretty.
This is a same coaster as Tokyo.
That is Disneyland Paris.
No, but I'm saying you said the coaster is the same?
Yes, it is the exact same. I know, it's weird that Tokyo Disney Sea has 2 or 3 duplicate attractions as other parks around the world. They have this that was done in Disneyland Paris, which is only the second looping roller coaster, because the first is Space Mountain in Paris, or Discovery Mountain. And then they also have Jumping Jellyfish in their Little Mermaid section. But back to the Indiana Jones. This coaster, very small coaster, 4 people over the shoulder. The one in Disneyland Paris opened a couple of years after the park opened. I don't know the exact dates for that. But it was such a normal coaster by the time that, the 90s and into the 2000s, they actually started running it so you rode it backwards.
Oh,
so you go through the loop backwards and do everything backwards. Sadly, when I finally made it there, yes, I've been to Disneyland Paris. It was just going the front ways. And in that case,
is Meredith right?
Is Meredith correct here? It's even worse than the original Figment ride?
I know, it hurts. I know it hurts. Cover poor Figment's ears. It's very painful. This is what I have to put up with.
It is not a horrible ride. It is an off-the-shelf coaster. So, it doesn't, there's no wow to it other than it's a looping coaster in Disneyland Paris.
The theming looks cool.
It is. It's really fun, but it's buried in the back. And every time I've gone, I forget about it until usually my last day. Then I walk back there. Oh, that's right.
So have we missed Indiana Jones any place around the world? We've got Paris, we've got Tokyo, we've got California. I'm pretty sure that's all, right?
No, I think Shelley's gonna.
Meredith has some very strong opinions, by the way. All right, I think we've got one more here. One more here.
But wait, there's more.
Opened with MGM Studios. Disney MGM Studios opened with this attraction. Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
I just learned that from the article you sent me. No, it opened like 3 months later.
No, it was running on opening day. It didn't open until 3 months later.
How funny.
Yeah, it was an opening day attraction. It's the only opening day thing that's left, but it technically didn't open until 3 months later. They were in technical rehearsals.
Okay, so were guests experiencing it on opening day?
Yes.
And throughout, from then until the official opening, guests were experiencing it? Okay.
Yes.
That's funny.
Sorry, because I just read an article about the guy who was the original indie actor, and I thought that article stated that it didn't open until later. But I guess no, he did say that they were actually doing it. So I just misinterpreted his rehearsals as not being in front of guests, but apparently they were.
Doobie misspeaks.
This for me was my first Disney Indiana Jones experience, because I went to the park in the night. I went to Indiana Jones here before it opened before the attraction opened. And so I was very curious how you could take this kind of film and turn it in. It's after you experienced this with all the stunts and you have in your mind kind of what Indiana Jones entertainment is, and so then you're like, I wonder what's this attraction gonna be.
Do you have any thoughts on it, Shelley? Figment? I mean, not Figment. I know you have thoughts on Figment a little.
I do.
Do you have any thoughts on the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular?
I think that it's a great way to kind of break up your day over at Hollywood Studios. It's good, break away from, going to attractions. It's a great place to wait for, before a meal. I really like the show. It's really fun. I think, once you figure out the shtick of it, the first time, it loses some of its, rewatchability, but it's not still enjoyable.
There's a shtick to
No,
it.
don't think about it.
Because
It's
something
okay.
really funny happened that I saw. There's this one guy in a Hawaiian shirt that they pulled out of the crowd.
Oh, I was there.
I think you were at the
In the head.
It was so funny. Man,
did a
I'm
great
so lucky to see that.
Yeah, it was a little embarrassing when she punched him, though. I felt kind of bad about that.
I love that part of the show. That totally gets
picks him up,
Yeah.
and then she doesn't pick him up, but he still pops up.
so going,
So
yeah,
good.
and then he catches the hat on his head, except he never does.
She does a lot.
I've seen it.
But it does have a truly spectacular finale. I don't know. There's something about this ending that just blows you away. It is so amazing.
That's like a movie still.
But it's the show.
But that's not the show.
It is the show.
No, there's no swastikas in the show.
There was. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay.
There's a whole story that we won't get into about that right now.
I didn't realize that they had ever featured them. That's interesting. Okay, go ahead. You can
The vehicles at the exit that were actually used in the films had them on there also.
Oh, interesting.
And one more thing about the California attraction, since this is where we all started. The vehicle, the truck that you're walking past as you exit was the actual truck from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like that was actually filmed in the movie and they put it there.
So says Tony
I have a
Baxter.
question for you. You're now my definitive expert on Indiana Jones Adventure. I've been told that the generator in the exterior queue was actually powering the lights, and you can hear it when it goes up and down. That times with when the lights dim and go up. Is this a truism?
It is not a truism, but it is. The lights are supposed to be in sync with the generator. When it first opened, that was one of the fun things about being in the queue. You'd hear the generator kick in, and you hear it kind of wind down, and the lights would dim, and then you kick in and get brighter.
Yeah.
Yes, that is part of the story, but it isn't actually run by the generator.
That is phenomenal.
And by the way, Tony Baxter is very, very firm in his belief that is the prop vehicle, like because of its story that they were able to trace where they got it from upon examination. What it's clear it's not a true vehicle. It's clearly a prop vehicle.
Right.
Why else would you have a prop vehicle? Where various of the hand placements are, just a lot of the things for him points to it being the actual vehicle, including a golf ball on the front portion of it. However, Steven Spielberg says it's not.
That's a tough one. I'm not sure who I'm going with that.
Just to put it, for clarity.
Speaking of historical vehicles at attractions.
According to Tony Baxter, by the way. Tony Baxter says not to disagree with a legend.
Yes. I think it's interesting that Disney does this a lot. For example, at Disneyland's Haunted Mansion, there's a hearse.
No, this is totally different.
Actually buried.
Totally different.
At Disney's Hollywood Studios, there was an attraction, and somehow we keep coming back to this attraction every time. Great Movie Ride and Casablanca, not the plane from Casablanca.
No.
Is it the plane from Fantasy Island?
Yes, it was the plane.
The plane.
The front half of the plane where you see the back half in the Jungle Cruise?
That's the back half.
That's what I know about it. Is that part of it's on the Great Movie Ride and part of it is in the Jungle Cruise.
Is the plane in the backlot tour actually Walt Disney's plane? Are you going to ruin that too?
No, that one is. And last time we heard about the location of that plane, it's by the sewage treatment plant on Disney property.
Oh, really? Okay.
Lovely.
I wonder where you could put that. Where could you put that and it would be cool? By the Riviera?
Sewage treatment plant.
Yeah, there must be
It'd be
someplace.
kind of cool by the Riviera.
Jacques Hangar
right?
Bar. Jacques Hangar Bar.
Oh, somewhere in downtown Disney and Disney Springs. I mean, yeah.
Just
Disney
put it out in the water,
Some
float
sort
it
of
out there.
Oh, that'd be cool. Build like pylons.
It's not a floating plane, though.
That's just detail.
Details.
Really fine.
It'll go with the story of the balloon because you rise and you look out on everything that he purchased, and he would have flown over it in the plane.
What about that dark area?
Everything that the sun hits.
Yes, exactly.
I feel like the dark area is like the Hilton and stuff that never sold. Where Oscars is. I can't think of the area.
Oh, Oscars. Don't talk about Oscars.
Anyway, thank you both for being such an important part of this discussion. Did you have something to say, Jeremiah?
I just want to tell one quick story. My cool shirt.
Okay. Please do.
Okay, so this shirt, February 26, 1995, that was actually the press opening day. As it says here on the press credentials.
Oh, those are cool.
This shirt was part of the media kit that was given to the invited guests, and it was wrapped up like a snake. So you'd open up the box, there was a snake, and there was a little metal icon of it. So I've been, as you can tell from the almost hour of me talking nonstop about this attraction, I've been a huge fan of this attraction since it opened, because it really was the first attraction that I, as a adult Disney fan, got to watch from construction to opening. So this shirt, last year before the 90s night that Disneyland had, I was searching eBay. I bought probably 5 or 6 different 40 Years of Adventure shirts. This shirt was put online for, I think I got it for $9 because it had just a bunch of wrinkles on it. So I don't know if the person who bought it picked it up at a secondhand shop and they just unwrapped it from the snake or what it was, but it was freshly unwrapped in the snake.
Wow.
So it had all the things. I'm such a nerd that I wore it because it was obviously hadn't been washed or worn. I wore it to the 90s night with all the wrinkles still in it.
I wonder.
So that's me being a nerd.
I wonder if the original owner is the guy we saw earlier, who was,
I love it.
From Las Vegas Channel 13.
Oh, that'd be funny.
Right. Because,
yeah,
I lost that shirt. Thank you both for being a part of our talk about Indiana Jones. What are we talking about next week? We don't know. Last week we spun the wheel, and it came up with Indiana Jones, and we decided to stick to it. Why don't we spin the wheel again? We may or may not do this, but it's always fun to spin the wheel.
Okay, guys, here's the wheel.
Here's the wheel.
All right.
Give it a spin.
Wheel of Bad Ideas.
That's pretty cool. I read this. 3, 2, 1. Oh, where's it gonna land?
What do we got?
It says
Indiana
Muppet
Jones.
Muppet Vision 3D. I love that idea.
Woohoo!
Thank you, Gideon.
No problem.
So next Sunday, same time, Muppet Vision 3D or something else.
Who knows?
But I like the idea of Muppet Vision. We'll see. Also, like to remind you, in just 2 short hours, we are going to be presenting the LP Movie Club. Tonight's movie is Howard, the brand new documentary that just debuted on Disney Plus on Friday. So Alex, Cole, Becca, not this one, and Kyle will be discussing Howard. Also like to remind you, we'll be back again, of course, next week doing another one of these. We're going to be doing a special edition of this on Tuesday, going to an extinct attraction. So we'll be having our extinct attraction expert Cole as we talk about the classic, everyone's favorite. Whenever they have a poll of what attraction do they need to bring back, they all vote for the American Idol Experience. So we'll be talking American Idol Experience with Cole on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Again, we'll be doing Muppet Vision or something else on Sunday at 4 p.m. We'll be doing trivia on Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., all kinds of live stuff. In fact, every day this month, we are either going to be doing a live or a premiere of something theme park related every day for the rest of this month. So exciting times here at Laughing Place. Nothing to compare to a walkthrough of Indiana Jones with Jeremiah, but we hope you have a good time anyway. We will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.